messing around. Jeff Perry from the Fiddle Jam Institute. Hope you're having a good time on your fiddle, having a great day, wherever you are, wherever you hear this, whenever you hear this. I was given a lesson today on Zoom, a private lesson, and actually 2 lessons today, and they both came up with the same theme. Isn't that interesting how that happens? The idea of learning a tune, a fiddle tune in these cases today, and getting the mechanics of it together enough where you can start making it dance. What does that mean to you? If you bring a tune to the point of dancing, it's like it's the boat that gets a little water, all of a sudden it's floating. All of a sudden, it's happening. It's grooving. So what do these things mean to you? What do they mean to me? What do they mean to my students today? Well, of course, in a teacherly fashion, I pressed them to see if they could come up with definitions themselves. They stumbled a little bit, I think. But what are the things that, since these are kind of intangible words, what are the things, the physical things, the musical things that would help these somewhat intangible qualities? Does it mean just dumping a bunch of water on the floor and floating? No, of course not. So one thing that came up between me and the students was tempo. All right, it doesn't mean you can't groove something at a slow tempo. It's a little more difficult. But tempo can help lift the ship, help it start floating. So when you're working on a tune or an etude or a groove tude, or in my Rock and Blues Fiddle Jam Etudes book, at the website for sale, fiddlejaminstitute.com in the store. When you get a tune fast enough, it starts to float a little bit and you become comfortable with it, and it's more comfortable to listen to as well. It's not all about tempo though, because we decided that the details of articulation are important too. So some more in the beginning might know, what's articulation? Well, it's just like when you're speaking. If I include my words and not speaking very clearly, you can't understand me, right? So how articulate can I be with my lips and teeth and everything that I speak with? Many times I know I speak too fast and trying to give the customer as most they can is for the least amount of time. But I'm learning that as I go too. I'm teaching myself, right? I'm learning to speak more clearly, and you can do the same in your playing. Sometimes just speaking with your bow more clearly, giving some short staccato notes, or making the bow, the note end exactly at the right time, right on the beat, can give a sense of compactness and execution. That can help lift it too, and that has nothing to do with tempo, we decided. And I think that's correct. You can do a slow groove thing. That was one of the groove tunes in G minor from the book, actually. So it wasn't fast, but it's got some stuff going on, right? And it's got some articulation, some short notes, some longer notes, some loud notes, some soft notes. So dynamics was something that came up too. So adding dynamics, and not just over a whole phrase, but within the individual notes. One note being quieter, one note being accented. Just like we speak, we'll have certain notes that jump out and certain notes that are quieter, certain words rather. So these things, these tools, these techniques, can help us lift the boat, help it float, help it start dancing, help it become more groovy. So only you will feel in your gut where you know that's happening. And in the Rock and Blues Fiddle Jam Etudes and the Groove Tude sections of each key, I encourage that. Learn it mechanically, get it there, and start lifting it in tempo until you're comfortable, until it grooves, until you are articulate with it, till you're comfortable with it, because if you think of danceability, it's not a heavy thing usually. It's kind of also, you get light on your feet, right? And you're dancing and everything is swinging, and whatever it happens to be, whatever you're in the groove is, if you got a drummer in your stomach. So find that inner place when you practice your tunes and your things. Try and find it when you're improvising as well. If not, if it's on a gig, you got to do the best you can. If it's not grooving for you, But try to remember that and go home and create on an app or something a similar groove and try at different tempos until you are comfortable. I know when I first learned gypsy music, I had to struggle a little bit at first. It wasn't that my technical chops weren't good enough to play it, but the fingerings were a little unfamiliar using that scale that the gypsy music uses rather than the pentatonics and blues scales that I had been used to before that. And I had to go back with the metronome and actually shed for a while until I could get comfortable with that and start to groove and float along the top of the music. And many times I was overbowing, I found at first, and making my results a little inconsistent in the first year or so. So there's many little subtle tricks. It usually comes down to the details. So find the details in your piece at your tempo, the tempo you're comfortable with, and you know you're comfortable with in your gut. If you're flinching at all, you're not ready. Slow it down a little bit, get everything tight and packed in until you're comfortable so you don't have to think about it, and then raise the tempo, and then add tricks like a little better accents, a little more contrast, and see where it goes from there to lift it. And if you're lifting it, if you're playing with others, they'll be lifted with you. So it's a cool concept, kind of hard to teach, but I'm glad it came up today in my lessons, and hopefully you'll benefit as well. Amen, and see you in the next one.